Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 58 of the Town Social. My name's Nick Barlow. Joining me is Gaz Kay and Ian Kilroy. We're going to start off by talking about the game, obviously, down at Rotherham. We all skipped down there in the sunshine, didn't we? Nearly 2,200 of us to hopefully marvel at a good Town performance after a poor showing away at Walsall. The sun was shining, the beer was flowing, and it was all looking fantastic until the game started. And then in true Town fashion, we started badly and tapered off at the middle, and the least said about the second half, the better, really. But we're used to it now, guys, aren't we? So that's the 100% record gone. Whose fault is it? What do we need to change? And then we're going to talk about the transfer window. Has it been good enough? Guys, get your thoughts in, get your comments in. Subscribe if you can. We'd really appreciate it. X is now up and running for us. We are live on X as well as YouTube, which is brilliant. We appreciate your comments, your feedback, your questions. We'll do our best to answer them all as we go along with our little group therapy session tonight. So let's get into it then. Gaz, me and you were at the game, saw it live. Let's just a little bit of an intro in general. How was the experience for you, mate?
Well, it was, as you said, the sun was shining. It was a lovely afternoon. Connor was up from Ipswich. We went for a pint in possibly the weirdest pub I've ever been, the Bridge Inn in Rotherham, where they had one of the beer tables was a coffin. Sort of set the tone for the day, really. That, didn't it? It was at the bar. I think the landlord was a Hell's Angel. I was ordering a pint of bar, and this Hell's Angel appeared with a bucket to drain the pipes off. So yeah, that sort of set the tone, really. We were sat right right on the very back row, right in the corner by the corner flag. So we had a cracking view of Rotherham's domination for most of the game. But it was good, like you say, it felt like there were a lot there. And I'd said to Connor walking up to the ground, it just felt like all the noise they'd made, the fact that they were there. I know you love an XG, Nick. They were the highest XG in League One without even scoring a goal. It was just written all over it, really, what were going to come, wasn't it? And that's how it played out for me.
Yeah, and let's go a bit more in depth, guys. Let's talk about the first half in isolation, because to me, I'd seen quite a few reports on Rotherham. They're obviously not started great, but the one of those that's tipped to be up there by the experts, shall we say, the League One veterans. Partly because of Steve Evans, partly because they've signed some half-decent players and they've got a record of bouncing straight back. And so it was always going to be a difficult game. After that performance against Walsall, you kind of expect us to rally around and come out with a bit of a point to prove, because I think we let ourselves down that night, although I wasn't overly bothered about going out of the League Cup, I'll be honest. But what I saw was what you'd probably expect from a League One game. I think I upset a few Rotherham fans when I called them a bit of a long ball team, but to me, it seemed like long ball, bypass the midfield and get a bit of pace to run onto it. And I just don't think we cooked. I think they were more physical than us. They won the 50-50s. We couldn't pass water. It was really poor watching. It was a hard watch. I thought as the half went on, we kind of got a little bit of a foot in. We had a couple of chances. Tom Lees managed to miss nearly an open goal from 3 yards with a header, which should have done better. But other than that, probably, I don't think we really created much more. And Rotherham fashioned a couple of decent chances. Nichols made a great save from Clark Harris. And you're going at half-time thinking we're probably lucky to be at 0-0, guys.
We started really slow, though, don't you? I think, there were a few grumbles in and around me when the team came out and Hogg was picked yet again. So I think that had already set the tone amongst some of the Town fans. Nichols also made a really good save, by the way, in the first couple of minutes when Longwick on his debut got absolutely skinned by, is it Nombe? I think that absolutely did him. And it was a really good save because we were over the other side. He came in towards us and his shot was going right in the top corner. Nichols had to tip it over. It was a really good save. And then that save from Clark Harris, it's only when I watched it back on the replays, you realise how good a save that is. But they were, it sounds insulting, they're industrial, aren't they? You know what you're going to get with the Steve Evans team, a bit like you get with Neil Warnock's teams. And they were cute because they didn't really have the pace to do what other teams have done, which is drop a ball in behind our centre halves, run onto it. So they just pushed 2 right up alongside Clark Harris. So they knocked it long to Clark Harris. If he wins the header, there's 2 people playing off him. And that meant our wing backs were so deep, we just couldn't get going, could we? And when you're relying on an out of form Evans and Wiles to link the play from there on, you're always going to struggle.
I thought Rotherham looked really good. And it's quite surprising. Like you say, the XG shite don't really matter, does it? They've not won a game. They've not scored yet coming into this when you look at league fixtures. But Steve, I think calling it a bit of long ball merchant or agricultural football, whatever kind of derogatory term you want to put in, even though it's winning football, I thought they had us worked down to a T. I thought the way they approached the game, Steve Evans has played an absolute blinder. And to be fair to Steve Evans, he doesn't come across as the nicest of blokes. He's not particularly easy on the eye. And there's a lot of criticism thrown at him. But when you're looking at actually how his football team plays and the results they get, he's bloody good. He knows how to counter a team. He knows how to set up a team against a team that's somewhat, on paper, better. And I thought they did an absolute number on us. I thought we looked shocking. I thought Nigel Longwick started horrendously in that first 10, 15 minutes. I think by the end of the game, everyone's kind of been won round by him a little bit. To me, I thought he was very suspect. Honestly, I thought his positioning and just felt like he was seconds away from getting another yellow card and getting sent off. For me, again, I know everyone's got him down as one of the better players on the day, but I thought he started shoddily. And then on the other side, Sorensen looked like he'd never defended in his life as a right wing back. He had an absolute torrid day, and it started really early on. There wasn't one moment where it looked like we were settled. There were brief glimpses in that first half where, like you say, Tom Lee's asked to score, done he, from that. He's 2 yards out. 2 yards out. But what really fucked me off in that first half and continuing to the second is we didn't adapt to the way Rotherham were playing. The amount of short corners we allowed them to have and then create a little 2-on-1 in the corner was ridiculous. It happened time and time and time again. And I'm watching it home. I suppose I'm more pissed off because I set off home from Wales early doors yesterday to get back. I were up at 7, tidying the Airbnb out so we could get in the car for 7:30 to get back home for 12 and to watch it. And then Camp Up, obviously our boys commentating on it, gives it a little bit more of a cheer. But straight away from the off, it felt like Rotherham were more at it than we were. We looked jaded. And now I've spoken about this on a different competitors podcast in regards to, I think, second half at the moment. Town look tired in games. We don't look better in second half. We always look worse. And now that's one of 2 things for me. Duff's not adjusting the team to what he's facing. Or secondly, we're just not fit enough. And I don't know what it is, or if it's confidence maybe. And I know it's Rich saying that after we've won game after game after game. But if you look at all the second halves we've had, they've not been great. And that's the exact opposite of what Neil Warnock does, where you kind of grow into the game. And I thought Rotherham did the same thing yesterday. First half, they were better. And then second half, they were better again. I know we took the lead from circumstances we'll talk about later on. But I just feel like we got it wrong and we didn't adjust from the first moment. And maybe that's personnel driven, that we don't have the right guys to be able to do it. But I thought at wing backs, especially yesterday, Rotherham went long, but they didn't go long because that's the only way they can play. Because in the games up until now, their XG is high because they kind of play a little bit more possession based. Okay, they've got less possession than every other team, but it's not as direct as you'd expect. Yesterday, they know, as everyone's spoken about, who's watched Town, is that our left centre back and right centre back are slow. And our long way, obviously, it's a little bit up in the air just yet. But our weakness is over the wing backs' heads, in that gap, in those half spaces, turn us around and pin us back. And what happened with yesterday is we ended up playing like a back 5. Sorensen and Miller, they weren't quick enough to get back in time to help the defence out when they went long. But what it meant was then they didn't get far enough forward, quick enough to help us attack. So we just had nothing. So then what Rotherham did really, really well yesterday is their entire game plan off the ball. Their press was, right, let's mark Lees, let's mark Longwick, and let's get Michael Elliott to drive it forward. And Elliott drove it forward all the time, right? What happens then, though, if your wing-backs are so deep, as ours were, trying to help out the defence, that passing on from Elliott to the wing-backs, right? The only place he can go is Johnny Ogg, who doesn't want the ball like that, we know that, and Wiles and Evans, they were the only 2 options, but they were marked by an extra midfielder in there. There wasn't space in the midfield for Elliott to hit a pass into the midfield and turn. Just wasn't there. Karoma, I thought, was fantastic yesterday, but him and Marshall aren't those guys that are going to drop into that ACM role, that false midfielder role, to try and get them turning and go forward. So all we did all game was Elliott got it, no pressure, walked forward 15 yards, pumped it long. So if you kind of call a team yesterday long ball merchants, it's Huddersfield Town. We were far more direct yesterday than Rotherham went, to my eye, compared to how we normally play. And it just didn't work. And that first half, that's what happened time and time and time again. And I thought if Lee Nichols didn't go yesterday, we've lost that game by half time. The save he made, like you said, to Clark Harris, I thought it was one of the best saves I've seen as a Town fan. Apart from Lossell made, obviously, the grab save. I can't remember who else who it were against. But Chelsea. I thought Rotherham got us down to a tee and beat us comfortably. I know it was a last-minute thing and they had to have some very fortunate refereeing decisions to kind of get there. But just as the flow of games have gone for us, I thought yesterday we weren't at it before all that kind of happened. Good teams find a way to win in those situations. And if Ward doesn't get sent off, maybe we do, and it's a different discussion at this point. But for me, it was wrong in the first half. We didn't adjust it when we should have. And then we were kind of made to pay for it in the second half. And really, I thought we were lucky to be in the game.
But they look jittery, though, in front of goal. And I'm not entirely sure without the penalty they score a goal in that game.
No, but that's confidence in it, Gaz. And Gaz, they've brought in, how many players they brought in? Is it 16, 12 players? 15 players they've brought in. And you can tell they're figuring it out and they're not quite there yet. And that's why yesterday going to the game, I'm thinking, for us, we couldn't be going to this in a better situation. They haven't scored. They're at home. We've won every game we've played in the league, This is when you want to face Rotherham. Yet, as soon as that game started, it felt the other way around, didn't it? It felt like we were the nervy ones. Okay, they were jittery in front of goal, but for the rest of the field, I thought they were at it and ready to go. And yeah, if Nichols ain't in the goal, guys, they score that early one. Like I say, I don't think Clark Harris did anything wrong with that. It's just Nichols has managed to get a hand to it. But they were jittery. You are if you don't score for 3 games. But in League One, you don't go 4 games without scoring, even if you're absolutely terrible. So there was always going to be a moment where it kind of clicked. And Rotherham might be clicking into that right now. And I just thought yesterday was the right time for us to go and give it a go. And it just felt that we didn't. It just felt like we didn't turn up, really. And not in a absolutely we're horrific and we're shy. And not that. It's just where we've been in the first half of the games up until now and how we started yesterday didn't seem the same to me.
It was really disappointing for me. I wasn't as sold on Rotherham as you, Ian. I've got to admit, I thought they just looked like an average League One side to me. Very physical, but they looked more up for it than us, and that was a worrying thing for me. And you talk about fitness, and I mean we're 4 league games into season, so we shouldn't even be fucking talking about fitness as an issue, and we shouldn't really be talking much about injuries. But we'll talk about them later as well, because as usual we've got a fucking mile-long list of injuries to contend with, and I think that's part of the problem when half your midfield's out injured. You're picking the same players, and I've got to be honest, Anthony Evans. He started so well against Peterborough, but I don't know what he offered yesterday. He looked completely anonymous. Ben Wiles didn't look anything like the performance he showed against Peterborough. And to be honest, since that game, we've kind of just seen a steady decline. Even the win against Shrewsbury, I didn't think we played well at all. And I think an half-decent side had probably put us to bed in that game. Then we had the Walsall performance and now this. And we're so early in the season, that's where we're worrying. And again, you look at the plan, we had our pre-season and we had plenty of time to work on things. And it seems we've got plan A. And if plan A doesn't work, we try plan A again better and hope it does work. There's no real plan B or C or... Do you think that's down to personnel, guys, and just a lack of personnel on the pitch, or do you think it's Duff just being quite rigid and setting his ways with this formation?
Well, I think when he made subs in the 65th minute, or whatever it was like for like, didn't he? He was determined. He wasn't changing the shape, and I think that was part of the issue Ellick had, as you pick out, Ian, that everybody's really static, and I noticed that in the previous game as well. That when the centre halves did have the ball, the movement was zilch, nothing, nobody coming toward them. And I think there was a couple of times in the first half where actually Marshall or Koroma did come short. They picked it. They managed to pick out the wing back, who then picks out the right side or left side of centre midfielder and Evans or Wiles, and then we built that seems to be the way. But if they're coming short, if they come short, receive the ball, and then the wing back is further down the pitch than Ellick, they're going absolutely nowhere, aren't they? That's the problem. But yeah, I think the thinness of the squad is always going to be a problem when you have injuries or loss of form. We don't have 25 players, do you, who are all first team ready. You look at the bench yesterday, and the individuals were strong individuals, but two of them there was Turton and Ruffles, and I think they'd struggle to get in most League One squads now. I think once we're starting to get to the bottom of the barrel, aren't we? Healy managed to injure himself in the warm up. What the fuck? How is that even possible that you injure yourself in the warm up? So yeah, I can't decide yet. I think it's early days, Nick, to decide whether Duffy's just being intransigent with 3-5-2 or whether he's sticking with it, because that's what that's what the players we've got now suit.
He sticks with it though. That he will stick with it, but I think you have to be fair to him, like you say there, guys. In that the players we've got at the moment, remember they're not guys Duff's brought in either. They're the guys he's inherited, a lot of them, and we've still got a lot of big, hefty contracts that we gave out wrongly or rightly in the Championship. So you're going to get this kind of problem, I think, with this. And I expected this going into this season, and that's why my initial prediction for how I thought the season would go was a bit more negative than most people's. I thought we'd struggle to even make the playoffs at first because it's a new system. We didn't even have any wing-backs at one point. We had no wing-backs that could fit his system. And we have loads of work to do without mega money. I went through yesterday, the teams in our division and what they've spent. And I think we're about 7th or 8th when it comes to the most we spent on an actual single player, which surprised me. I just kind of think Birmingham are spaffing millions and that's them. But then you look for other clubs like Bristol Rovers, I think they spent $500,000 on someone. And Barnsley obviously have spent 700 on Keeler Dunn, and you're going through these kind of other teams around us. They're spending over $500,000 on a player as well, and we have to go out and bring new players in. Okay, we didn't bring as many in as like Rotherham and Shrewsbury and even Stevenage, to be fair, but you get that. So it's going to take time. So you're going to get these games where if it's not going quite right, Duff isn't in the position just yet, I don't believe, to be able to have a plan B because the players that we have aren't the ones he'd kind of gone out to get himself. And I know we have this: is your coach or is your manager argument, and you have. It used to be Lee Brombin, obviously it's Cartwright or whatever, bringing in the players for the system that we're going with now. And I get that, but it's still going to take a while to transition over to this new 3-5-2 system, which has gone well for us in the first 3 games. I get it. But it's going to take a while to get enough guys in to be able to adjust it a little bit, I think. Because like you say, Turton, Ruffles, they're not really a 3-5, regardless if you think they're good enough for League One or not. They're not really 3-5-2 guys. You kind of shoehorn them in a little bit. And we're starting to do that with Leeds, I think, at right centre-back. So there's people in the starting 11 that aren't necessarily perfect for this system. And I thought that first half just kind of epitomised it a little bit in that Rotherham were a bit much for us physically and we couldn't really match it. And there wasn't much even in second half to really change the flow of it. But no, I just expected more, Nick. And I think you're onto something where it just felt like they were more up for it. And it's not necessarily just, like I say, how beautiful the football is or whatever. You can just generally sense how the game's going when you're watching it. And it just felt they were more at it than we were to start off with.
I do think that 3-5-2 it suited to teams who hold the ball and dominate possession, and of course we're not really doing that either, are we? We did it smartly against Stevenage and against Posh. And I also think our press just seems to have broken down. We had first 2 games, certainly first game and the first half of the second game, our press was really good, but it was easy on. It would have been we didn't press Rotherham on Saturday because I think we knew whether this was a direction from Duff, I don't know, but you go and press their 3 centre-backs, it was a piece of cake. They just rolled it back to the goalie who whacked it 60 yards onto...
That's it, guys. I think the press were crap because we like pressing 3-3-4, don't we? Like, we 3 centre defenders, your 3 midfielders, and your 2 wing-backs press with the strikers nearly. They go really high. A bit lopsided, so it doesn't work quite like that. But you can't do that when you're worrying about them going long into the spaces where Clark Harris is going to run to. And like you say, the 2 wingers that they had were quite handy and quite fast in that press as well.
And he was really cute, Harris. He kept peeling himself off and putting himself on Longwick. He avoided Hellick like the plague, and it worked for him. I'm with you, and I thought he grew into the game. I thought after 10 minutes, I'm thinking this bloke ain't going to make half time, but I thought he grew into the game. I thought some of his defensive interceptions and blocks, certainly in the second half, until he went off, where he was probably the standout with the 3 centre halves in the second half. I thought. I think he's a lad that will probably do okay. I think he's athletic, which is something else we're missing on that back 3. But as I was saying, I think the issue we're going to have is that we've built a team that plays on possession, pass, out wide, cross, goal, and at the minute that the centre midfield are not involved in the game, are they? And as I said right at the beginning about Oggy, Oggy was picked again. I know Herbie Kane's injured, but we brought the young lad in from Wolves, and I half expected him to start. I half expected he might start instead of Hogg, but obviously Duff decided that wasn't going to be the case. And actually, Hogg was at fault for the penalty and for the second goal. I mean, if you watch the penalty, Wilkes jinks into the box, Hogg jumps out of his way, and Sorensen doesn't even try. If one of them fouls him, he don't even get into the box for the penalty. And then Hogg, I mean, the goal, Hogg just waves a leg at him. It's not even an attempt at a tackle, it's absolutely abysmal. So, I think I saw a tweet today from somebody talking about Hogg saying, he's involved and that's why he gets the pelters, because he is involved and he makes mistakes and he doesn't do what we might want him to do, but the other 2 get away with it because they do now. which actually is probably a really fair point. But yeah, I just think we haven't got the football. The irony is we've got the players who play in the positions for 3-5-2, but when we're playing as we are, certainly with such a light centre midfield, we haven't got the possession of the ball you need to make 3-5-2 work for me.
It doesn't help when we can't pass the ball properly. How many times did we have the ball and give it away to opposition? I mean, I was looking at the stats pre this, and I was absolutely shocked when it said we had more completed passes, accurate passes than Rotherham, because to me, we just couldn't get a pass. We couldn't get a move going. Every time we tried to pass, we lost it, either out of play or straight back to Rotherham. It was just painful. It was painful to watch, and too many people, to me, just didn't turn up yesterday. I thought Sorensen was poor in his defending, although I know he's going to be one of these that's better going forward, and that's fine. But you've got to do both halves. You can't just be good going forward and just completely inept defensively. Miller, I thought, is a bit quiet, average. I mean, that new bloke, I can't pronounce his name, Gaz. You have to help me out again. But he were a red card.
With our professor of language studies, Cameron Pope, who tells me that the W is a V, so it's Longvic.
Longvic.
If that's wrong,
Longvic, I did think he'd go into the game, but then you're bringing someone in who's joined the club like 2 days ago. So what are we expecting? We're not going to expect fireworks, are we? So, but it needs must, because again we've got how many injuries and suspensions. Who else is it to bring in? So, and then we go into the second half. Let's go into some detail on it, guys, because there's a few main talking points, isn't there? Danny Ward comes on midway through. He tries to win an header in an embarrassing Swan Lake act where he flails his arms, gets nowhere near the ball, and then he channels his inner Tekken on the next guy and nearly takes his head off. And that's within like a minute of him coming on and gets sent. I mean, I've never seen such a poor choice of judgment in my entire life in football. It was, you might as well have just gifted game to him. I know it's looking at it back. Is there an argument maybe it should have been a yellow because there's no, it wasn't particularly. I don't know if they even touched the guy, but when you do that in front of the ref with his view, he's going to give a red all day long, and then we're on the back foot, aren't we? And it just completely changes the game, doesn't it? Because to me, it's going for a 0-0 draw all day long until that happens, and it all kicks off, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I think it's important to mention just before this. I think if you actually remember what happened, halftime comes on. I think Town must have got a bollocking by Duff at halftime. Because after half-time, Evans just threw himself in at fucking everything. Honestly, he should have been sent off himself. There was a tackle in the first half where he's gone in for a 50-50. He's gone studs up and absolutely taken somebody out on the thigh. And I can't remember who it is. It might be T, which makes me laugh every time I say it. But I think it was him he went in at. But he should have been, to me, that were a booking anyway. Second half, there's the same thing again, similar, gets a yellow card for it. And then he grabbed somebody around the waist when they turn him. And he should have been sent off for that, Evans. And now, to me, that represents a bollocking that they've got at half-time. And that the players know, so it's not going right, and they're getting frustrated. Whatever's happening, they're getting frustrated. I've played in many shite midfields, probably because I'm the problem. But when you're losing that battle, it's a frustrating feeling because you just can't get on the ball. You have entire games, and you might even win the game. But sometimes it's just, as a midfield, you don't get it, and you get more and more frustrated. You're blaming everybody else that no one's passing it to you, even though you might be the problem yourself. And I feel Brodie Spencer does this quite a bit as well. He kind of loses his head sometimes in defence if we're not doing too well. He has those little moments. And I think you need it. I think you need that to be a professional footballer. You need a little bit of a fight. But I think Evans was getting frustrated. Anyway, obviously, Danny Ward comes on. Did Evans come off beforehand? I can't remember if Evans came off, if he came off at the same time or just before Ward. Hang on. And anyway, you can just see that Danny Ward, they've told him, go on, Danny, mate, just throw yourself about a bit. We're getting pushed off here. We're getting booted. We're getting out-muscled here. Go and chuck it in, Dan. And now for me, he don't make contact. And it's pathetic. But where the linesman is, you can see what he's seeing. You can see it on the TV. He's right in front of him. He's seen the elbow come up. And now you can't jump without putting your arms up. You can't. So I understand sometimes when your arms are up here, but he's nearly saluting before he jumps, Danny Ward. He's like pointed to where he's going to put his arm and then run for 3 or 4 yards. He's missed the lad and the lad's dived, and that's horrendous, and the rest being done. And to me, it's not even a yellow card. It's not. But what he did is silly and unnecessary and unnatural. And when the liner sees it, I still think he's told the ref to send him off. I don't know if the ref's seen it himself, because remember, they've got microphones on, they've got full headsets. So just because you don't see him talking to each other on the field, it doesn't mean he's not saying, is that off? And liner's gone, yeah, red. That's what I'm guessing would have happened yesterday. And it was stupid and unnecessary. But that's Danny Ward. He's just been like that last, 6 months or so, every time you've seen him, he's never really looked like he's putting all the effort in as he used to do for us. And it's just, I felt it was stupid for a professional footballer with his experience. Doing that is stupid. It's still not a sending off, and the refs definitely got it wrong, but he shouldn't have done it, and he shouldn't have given the ref that decision to make, because it gave the ref an opportunity to get a red card out, because it looked like, to me, he was fancying it anyway.
He was patchy all day with ref anyway, I thought he gave some strange decisions. Malik Wilks must have committed 8 fouls and he didn't book him. And if you watch the replay, actually, Sorensen clears the ball up, the one that Danny manages to completely miss, and Wilks wipes him out. So there's a blatant foul on Sorensen before the ball bounces over Ward. I'm with you. I mean, why he jumped? You can't jump with your arms up, but he didn't jump. He did. His arms were completely. And the ref couldn't wait. I mean, that's the other thing. The ref normally, when they get to pro level, when they're refereeing professional football, the refs are trained to give themselves just a second, 5 seconds to have a think, because he didn't need to flash the card while he's 20 yards away walking to the bloke. He's got the time to walk over before he has to make a decision, but he couldn't get the card out quick enough. He was fumbling in his pocket. That's the second he'd blown his whistle. So whether it was or it wasn't, he didn't give himself the time to think. And the same happened with the penalty, by the way, which I know we're going to come to. He whistled before Malik Wilks had hit the ground. So I think the defender all manned him, but I think he caught him, by the way. I think say he didn't touch him.
With his head though, no, it wasn't his elbow though, wasn't it a head?
Yeah, but he fucking hardly touched it. I mean, he hit him, but he didn't knock him out, did he? I mean, he didn't need what the bloke gave. But you're asking for trouble, aren't you? Like you say, you're jumping like that. You're absolutely asking for trouble. The linesman on that side, by the way, had given 2 or 3 decisions earlier than that as well. There was a foul on Karoma where the ref shook his head, the linesman flagged, and then the ref gave it. So clearly that linesman on that side felt like he was involved in the game. But yeah, I mean, possibly the worst, according to the live score, he was on for 5 minutes, possibly the worst 5-minute cameo I've ever seen. It was absolutely dreadful, wasn't it?
It does no good for his rep when he's getting pelters on social media before he's even kicked a ball, and then come on and do that. He might as well have had his bloody Rotherham shirt back on, hasn't he? Because he's literally handing game to him. Just stupid. A player of that experience to do something like that, and he's going to give a card all day long. It'd be interesting if it were the other way around, and if it were their player doing it to ours, would it? Because I do think some of these refs, I do think they get influenced by the crowd a lot as well. And I think the way the linesman reacts, as you say, guys, he's obviously had a word with him, but he reacted straight away, didn't he? And I think that made the rest mind up. He's not thought about it. He's not giving him any time to think. He's just gone straight for the card, and that's it. And then we're thinking from then on, this is going to be a very, very difficult game. And in true Town fashion, they managed to surprise us by then going down the end and scoring. And I thought Karoma outstanding yesterday, ran his socks off, and manages to get a boot in, win the ball, drives down the right-hand side, and then just a really nice little ball pulled back to George, who nice bit of movement from him in the box, unmarked, to slide it in. And goal out of absolutely nothing, guys.
I loved you. I love Karoma. I've loved him. I have for years. When we had Cowley's, I think Josh Karoma is a fantastic footballer. And again, I do think he's a 9. I think he's a down-the-middle striker. And I argue with a lot of people about this. But yesterday, he was probably the best player on the pitch for me. I thought he was fantastic. His control is unbelievable. The amount of high balls that come into him, and he's just down on his feet and away. And the goal came from absolutely nothing. But what happened there is, this is pro football for you. We went down to 10 men. Rotherham psychologically think, we fucking got him here, let's go. So as soon as that happens, they've chucked a couple of extra guys up. The right centre-backs just tried to head it back in, and it's just a shite header back to the other guy, which wouldn't have happened 11 versus 11. He's heading that upfield. But they've switched into that. Right, let's keep possession here now. They've got one extra. And as soon as he's done that, he's made the mistake. And Karoma's gone on a right run, hasn't he? But not just on a right, clever run. He's been like, he's thought about what he's going to do. He's run it round, run it down the corner, waited for Hodge to get into that position. And we've scored a few goals like this season, haven't we? Where we've pulled it back to the edge of the box where the midfielder's waiting. It's a design play by Town. And it's a good finish. It's a good finish by Hodge. And what a great way to start your... So it's funny though, isn't it? We've got rid of Johnny Ogg and brought in Joe Hodge. It's pretty similar when it comes to... Someone's mentioned it's like a football manager regen, where they've just brought up a new name for a player to replace a guy in an existing position. But what a great piece of play by Josh Koroma. But that's what happens. Rotherham thought, we're in here, they've opened up, and straight away we've punished them. And that proves that we are a good team. And when teams come and have a go at us properly, if they do play open football, we'll get chances. And that was a brilliant finish. And to be fair, before Callum Marshall went off, I thought he was real disappointing yesterday. I thought he offered next to nothing. And he's a similar stature kind of player as Josh Koroma. But if you're looking at where they are in their careers and who offers more at this point in time, for me, is Josh Koroma. And he showed it yesterday, especially for that goal. That was a goal from absolutely nothing. And whilst it won't go down as a goal for Josh Koroma, and I'm saying this because I've got him down to score 20 goals in the season if he started 40 games as a striker. I think he's that good. And I'm going to put that on him yesterday. So 3 and 4, nice from Koroma for this season. But it was a brilliant piece of individual brilliance, and he laid it on the plate for Hodge to finish. And it just kind of gave us a bit of a lift in it. We thought, just for that moment, oh, do you know what? They hadn't scored all season, and we've managed to nick it here.
I'm with you. I thought it was a brilliant goal, and Koroma yesterday, of the 25 or 6 players or whatever, whoever they were on the pitch, he was the only one that looked like if you put him in a championship team, he wouldn't look out of the place. The rest all looked like they'd struggle. He was excellent, and that goal was it was everything Josh Koroma is. He used his pace, he used his trickery, he used his strength, because as he came to the bloke's a foot tall and trying to shove him over,
Yep.
and he rode the tackle, slowed the ball down, spread the ball up, and then picked out an absolutely, a beauty of a pass to pick Hodge out. And Hodge, as you say, it was a really tidy finish from the penalty spot. But yeah, I was really impressed with Koroma. And I think, from yesterday's game, there's probably only Koroma and Nichols, you could say, can probably take any credit out of the game at all, really. But yeah, I was at that point. I mean, we went absolutely bonkers. I thought we were going to end up about 4 rows down when it went in, because I could not believe that had just happened, because that's generally we tend not to do that, do we? And we'd already made our mind up we were going to drop deep. So, fair play to Josh. It's just a shame that in the end it counted for naught, isn't it?
Yeah, goal on debut. It don't get better than that, does it? And I wish him all the best. I'm hoping he's going to grow into it the more he goes on. I thought it signed Peter Dinklage when he came on. I've never seen such a short football, and that's probably the only thing that worries me slightly is the physicality. And I've said it time and time again, in League One, you need pace and power. And Koroma's probably one of the only players that'll get the ball as the pace, and he will run at people and force them into mistakes. And if that's Mikael Miller, he's twatted it across for a throw-in, straight across the goal. But Josh pulls it back, bit of intelligence, bit of experience, and Hodge tucks it away. And yeah, like you say, Gaz, a bit of pandemonium there in the stands. It's quite a steep stand over at Rotherham, and I think there are a few cases of people falling over each other and dropping down, and hopefully everyone's all right. But it was a nice moment, mate, because the rest of the game was shite, and sometimes you just need that bit of release, don't you, after such a drab affair. It were nice just to get that, and you're thinking, right, what we mustn't do is do something stupid and concede within the first 5 minutes. Keep it tight, frustrate them. The crowd will get on the back the longer it goes on. They haven't scored a goal all season. We've got this. And then within 2 minutes, they go down the left-hand side. He breaks into the box. Sorensen, he's got his arm. The attacker's got his arm. 50-50 probably in the box, like what you'd expect. Their player then goes down almost to make a challenge as the ball goes out of play, and then the rest blown for a penalty. I mean, to me, guys, I've watched it a couple of times, and I've seen some people saying it is a penalty. To me, that's never seen a penalty for me. I think it's an awful decision. I think unfortunately we had a bit of a donkey ref, and I think he just bought that up line and sinker.
Yeah, I rarely call a ref shit for a full performance. I think they can make poor decisions, but generally it kind of benefits both teams over the season. And even in most games, I genuinely think it normally does. If you're at the bottom of the league and you're fighting relegation, most of those decisions go against you because you're defending most of the game. I understand that, right? But that one yesterday, that referee, from the moment he sent Danny Ward off, were fucking awful. And I honestly, you can go back through all our podcasts. I don't speak like this, but I thought it was an embarrassment yesterday. And now with Sorensen, though, I also thought that was embarrassment. Since we signed him and going forward, I'm watching and I'm thinking, how have we managed to bring Sorensen in? How have Lincoln held on to him for so long? that we can come in and get him this summer without much competition. I know we've rolled out there were championship clubs after him, but I feel we could sign me to play centre back on Tuesday night because we've got next to no player, or even as a striker because we've got no players, and they'd suggest that there were teams from high divisions after me as well. But with Sorensen, I don't understand it. I'm thinking, why has he come to us? And then yesterday, it's the first time he's had to defend properly. Oh my God, he struggled, didn't he? He struggled. Do you know what it reminded me of? Sorba Thomas trying to defend. He's a wing back. He used to be brilliant going forward, but as soon as it was coming at him, you used to think, oh, don't foul him, Sorba. Don't do it, mate. And I kind of got that same feeling with it yesterday with Sorensen out of absolutely nowhere, because if you'd have asked me prior to the game who's been the best performer of the season, Sorensen's got to be up there, and he's been fantastic. But then yesterday, against first bit of quality opposition going forward, where they're asking questions of us from the off, not like just the odd half here when you're already winning, but yesterday when they were asking questions of us, he looked very suspect. And I hope it's just a bad day and he gets back at it. But for the penalty, he's grabbing his hand beforehand, and he don't need to do that. He don't need to do that, but he does it because he's nervous, because he's been done all day. That's what's happening. He's thinking, oh, no, not another one. Just grab him a little bit. That's not a penalty, but you don't do it. But as soon as he does that, the ref will have seen it, and it's not enough to be a penalty. But then when your other man just chucked his legs under him, and he has, and it's never a penalty in a million years. It's still what the ref sees. He's seen him trying to have a little bit of a tussle. He's bought it, up, line and sink. I was listening to Matt Glennon on Radio Leeds. He was going absolutely mental with the referee for it. He couldn't stand it. And neither could I watch, because obviously I had to leave a little bit early from home, so I didn't catch the last 15 minutes on TV. I watched it back afterwards. It was embarrassing. Never a penalty. Never a penalty in a million years. But then Sorensen looked suspect all day long. And if it was ever going to be there, it was there. And Rotherham knew it. He was the weakness. They were going in. He was doing what he could to get back. And your man just chucked his leg under him and fallen down. It looks good, though. I'll be honest. I wish I could dive like that. If I could dive like that, I would. It's a nice dive. But it's never a penalty. It's never a penalty in a million years. And the thing is, when the refs fucked it up for a red card 2 seconds before, or 5 minutes before, whatever it was, and then does it straight after again, guys, like you say, no messing about, that's a penalty. It's 100% a penalty. He's like, it's hard to take. It's hard to take. And we really were up against it from the moment Ward got sent off for the last 30 minutes.
I remain convinced, by the way, that honestly, if they don't get a penalty, I don't think they score a goal. Honestly, I don't.
No.
I think part of the problem as well, Sorensen must have given away 6 or 8 fouls as well in the game before that. So the ref has got used to blowing his whistle when the blonde kid gets near the ball. I'm still fuming about the fact he got into the penalty area. Hogg and Sorensen, one of them could have fouled him before he got into the box. So, at that point, you got to take a foul. But, I mean, it's just from the other end, I could see from the other end that he simply jumped sideways and stuck his legs out. And I am, 80 yards away? A professional ref who is less than 20 yards away can't see that that's the case. And as I said, the speed that he gave the penalty is what makes me think it's a bum call. Because if he gives himself a few seconds and then gives it, I could almost accept it, because he's weighed it up. He was, as you say, Kelly, he was all right. He wasn't pulled, but he pulled his arm. He's pulled his arm, and that's made him fall. And I'm going to give it because of that. I mean, he gave it because he thought it tripped him up. That's what he gave it for. Didn't give it for shirt pulling. Didn't give it for arm pulling. He's pulled it because he's convinced he's fucking flat. The ball was out of play, by the way, as well, when he blows his whistle, before he blows his whistle. It's just every measure of it. It was a joke decision. But I think what I don't want to do is I don't want to deflect from the fact that penalty was a joke towards Town's performance. I think we've got to be careful. The ref doesn't give our lot a get out of jail free card because of the performance, and I think there was a lot of that on social media last night. Refs cheated us out of the game. Not sure he did, but he didn't help, did he? Let's be honest. It was a shocking decision, really was. And
we have to be better than that, guys. But guys, if that game's 0-0, does he give that penalty? I don't think he does. I don't think he does.
I don't think he does either. No, I don't think he does either. And I also think he'd warmed himself up at that point. I think he decided after that the game was going to be, he was going to be the centre of attention, because he then sent off our goalkeeping coach, didn't he? And then he sent Duff off at the final whistle. I mean, they want a foul in the game that were worthy of a card, and we had 3 red cards. Absolutely unbelievable.
I think he sent Ever off. I think he sent Chris Green off. Maureen, but she got a red card as well. He was just flapping his cards everywhere. It was brilliant. Cam was struggling to see who were getting sent off when he's commentating on it. Honestly, they were fantastic, wasn't it? As soon as he got his red card out, he couldn't stop.
It's some kind of sick joke, mate. And I think the problem is we're lumbered with these donkey refs in League One. They're utter shite. And the problem is when you can't afford to go 1 goal up in games because you're just frightened of they're going to do something completely irrational and fucking stupid. And you end up conceding.
We never seem to get the benefit of these shite refs, Nick.
No, we don't. Well, I'll tell you now, mate. If that's down other end at pitch, and that's for us, does he give that to us? Or if not, does he shite? He don't give anything. He's been influenced by prior events, the crowd, whatever, and it's not good enough. You can't be influenced like that. You've got to take it at face value, take a breath, look at it, take your time with it. And the bloke, he's got a bit of his shirt in the box. The attacker has a bit of Sorensen's shirt because it's a 50-50 tussle in box. That's what happens every time. And then the bloke just almost slight tackles Sorensen as the ball's going out, probably just to try and stop the ball going out. And it's just a simple goal kick. And I'm half expecting to be like Scooby-Doo-esque where they could pull his mask off and it's Rebecca Welsh there. Flashbacks for last season of that penalty at Bristol City, mate. It were on a par with that, honestly. We're on a par with that. There's been one of the worst penalty decisions I've seen for a long, long time. And I know that sounds like it's a bit of get out of jail moaning about that. And it's not a get out of jail, mate. Don't worry about that. We'll talk about how shite we've been. But it doesn't help when you've got donkeys in middleweight cars giving decisions like that because that completely changes the dynamic of that game. If they don't get that penalty, I don't think they score. I agree with you guys. And I think we win the game 1-0 in a hard-fought win in difficult circumstances. And it just brought them back into the game and just completely fucked us.
Does Nichols ever save a penalty, by the way? Has he ever saved a penalty?
I think he saved one, his first penalty shootout in the Cup when he first signed, and he's not saved one league penalty.
You two were all.
He writes him a letter which way he's going before bloke steps up.
You two are sort of, you're not for 100 bus today. Who's got a pass today?
Karoma.
Your two negativity. Nick, 2 days ago, Nick's giving Kev the big one for bringing in loads of signings. Anyway,
whoa.
Striker. We'll go into that in a second, Nick. Don't worry. This has been noted down. The tweet. Oh, it's all right, Kev. Best start to the season in forever if we win on Saturday.
All I said, mate, was
striker.
All I said. Let's not, because the thing is, it was toxic on there as you'd expect, wasn't it? And I just think, what's the point? Because it's done, innit? We never hardly sign anyone deadline day. So what is there else to do other than just try and get behind the team and see it out to January? That's the only point I was making. I think I said at the time I was disappointed with it because we needed more, and we're going to get on the transfer window in a sec, but it was a nasty atmosphere on deadline day. Let's be honest. I would just try and bring a bit of balance, mate. That's all it was. But that doesn't mean I can't change my mind tonight. Now we've been bummed by Rotherham.
I didn't mean to trigger you, Nick. It's all right, mate. You know, it's not defensive. We've all been there, mate. You ended up in a Mancini once being pretty rash, so we don't need to worry too much about it. But that was never a penalty. It was never a penalty whatsoever. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was given. And again, like Gaz said, I think at 0-0, they don't give it. It's one of those. You're 1-0 up. You're away from home. There's already a red card. You're down. And as soon as it happened, Town changed, didn't they? As soon as it got back to 1-0, like you say, Gaz, they might not have scored at all game if they don't get that penalty. But we gave up. It felt like we gave up. It felt like Town at that moment felt, oh, for fuck's sake, not this again. We're up against it. Flashbacks. This is where the hangover of a bad relegation kicks in, I think. As soon as you face any sort of adversity early on in the season following, it's tough because in your head, you've got the demons from last season. And as soon as it went back to 1-1, you're like, oh, no, not this again. And to be fair, we don't even have to go back to last season. Walsall were barely 4 days ago, and that were awful and all, wasn't it? But that was the same kind of thing. It's like copy and paste. And as soon as it went to 1-1, you knew what were coming. You knew exactly what were coming. It was never about can Town hold on. You knew we wouldn't. It just felt like we wouldn't be hanging on and Rotherham would be getting the first win of the season. Because that's what Town do. We're a charity when it comes to teams that are in shite form. And we just gifted them. Well, we didn't gift them the game. The game was gifted to them, in my opinion, by the referee decision. But as soon as it got back to 1-1, we just looked shocking.
I think it summed it up when we brought Karoma off and we didn't have an attacker to bring on, so we had to shove Walls up front. And that...
I can't believe we did that. Honestly, Nick, that's triggering me. I'm going to get defensive about that as well. Karoma's on his own. He's on his own. And this is where, again, Duff's decisions in this game alone, to me, has just been a little bit worrying. It has. Darren Moore did it after about 7 games, and I'm not going to throw Michael Duff in with Darren Moore now. I'm not going to do it. Darren Moore did against Ipswich, in that game where we were 2-1 up, 2-0 up at home, and then he brought off better players, including Karoma, I think, that day, and we looked awful afterwards and threw the game away. Koroma coming off at 1-0 when he's your outlet, when he's just taking it on his own around 3 players, played it back for Hodge to score when you've only got 10 men, and he's taking it off. And I think they've suggested that he may have been injured, though. I think it was more that they felt they had to take him off rather than it was a tactical decision. But at the moment, when they took him off, you're thinking it's tactical. And even that, again, you're just thinking, oh, why are we doing this? He's the only outlet we've got. I'd have taken Bojan at that point. Radulovic could have offered something if it had been around. That's how desperate we were, just for that kind of presence up top. But as soon as that happened, you knew what was coming.
I'd have taken fucking Udlin, mate. Honestly, like just someone big, something different, someone to scare people, someone just to get a foot, hold the ball up and just stop it from just constantly just going one-way traffic. Koroma, it said, it cramped up a bit, but why the fuck? Why have we got players that can't last 90 minutes? Why has every player got to come off because it's too much for them? We're 4 games in to the season. What we're going to be like after 25, 30 games? It's really worrying for me. And I mean, let's talk about that second goal, guys, because the defending for that was something you'd see on the park, down at the park on a Sunday. Jonathan Ogg's attempt at winning the ball was non-existent. Sorensen doesn't track his man and then kind of just saunters like he's going for a little morning stroll and then just stops moving altogether. And then Nichols get beaten at his near post, which no keeper likes, but it was quite a fierce shot, to be fair. Quite difficult. But, guys, it's just a horrendous goal, really, all round in it, when you look at the defending. And like you're saying, it will come in on it. We knew it was Moore-esque. We just trying to park the bus, and we're not good enough to do that. And it was just constant. But when you look at the highlights of that goal, fucking hell, the defence for that was just awful.
The irony is, I'm moaning about 3-5-2, by the way. He went to 4-4-1 when he took Koroma off and brought on Ruffles and Turton. I mean, that was the irony. He went to 4-4-1, and we suddenly were leaving absolutely acres out wide.
Don't do that again.
Yeah, well, your short corner point was a good one, Ian. That's how they scored the goal. It was about the third one. They just kept playing it around in a little triangle. And we got 2 men being passed around by 3 others. But I mean, the goal. I mean, I can't get my head around how in the last minute of a game, a striker can wander into the box and find 10 yards of space like Wilkes did. 10 yards of space there must have been, and it's no wonder he had a shot. We were inviting him on, weren't we? And yeah, it's one of them. I mean, it was coming, and I guess this now rams home the issue with our strength in depth not really being strength in depth. I know we're going to come on the transfer window, but that it doesn't look like a club that's been reset top to bottom. Well, it certainly didn't on Saturday.
Oh, we just look knackered. As soon as that second goal goes to 1-0, we look again. I had an argument with Tristan about this, didn't I, last season in a podcast, in that the fitness Warnock came in with and apparently ruined the squad was a load of nonsense. And I think we can catch up during the season, because I don't think we looked any fitter this season than we did last season at this point. I just don't. And maybe I'm wrong, and I haven't seen the metrics. I'm sure the club will have the statistics when it comes to the amount of miles run by players. But to me, we look knackered at the end of games. We look absolutely shagged, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's the high press and the wing backs coming back and forward and the midfield having to adjust from or whatever. But in second half of games, we look fucked. We look like we're in trouble. And I'm sure that over time we'll get there and Duff will get it sorted out. But for now, it's a real worry for me. It's probably the only worry I have. Like I say, that change of system that we don't have because we don't have the players yet, because Duff's only been here a short period of time, is one of them. But it's just a weak goal, and Ogg's pedestrian walking out. Miller's kind of bit of the wrong guy as well. He's marking his man, and then he leaves his man to go to the ball where really, I don't know who should have been chasing him over there. But he didn't anyway. Miller jumped and his ball's gone back to where Miller was, and it's gone through from there. And to be fair, Nichols beaten at the front post. It's a good finish, but you can still question that as well. Not I'm going to put it down on Nichols. He was fantastic yesterday. But as a keeper, you don't ever want to be beaten at your front post. But the game was lost at that red card and that penalty decision. And then whatever happened after that were a mixture of us being knackered, us being mentally hungover from last season and Walsall midweek. And it were always just writing on the wall. The coaches had obviously lost it. They'd lost their discipline. And sometimes on the field, when that happens, you can see that on the pitch as well. Like everyone feels it. And it felt like Town looked sorry for themselves a little bit. And maybe it's rightfully so, but that's how it felt to me anyway. It's just shit. And I think we're better than that. What we showed yesterday in the entire game, we're better than that as a club. We're better than that as a starting 11. and we're better than that as a 17, 18, whatever we put in the match day squad. It was just a real awful end, and you don't really want to go into like an international break on the back of this. And that's why it's quite nice on Tuesday night. We've got a chance to go in on the back of something a little bit positive, because it really was, after the perfect pre-season, after a great start to the regular season, to lose as we did yesterday, it just leaves a bit of a sour taste in the mouth, and we don't need it, because things have been all right up until then.
I know, as a caveat my mourning, we won 3 out of 3 prior to this in the league. So, and we're still, whatever we are, we're still only a point off top. So, we're not exactly miles off the pace here, are we? But I think anybody who's seen all 4 league games would say what yesterday wasn't a surprise. I think, we have to, whilst we want to stick up for the fact we've made some progress and we've not had we've had a good start. You also have to accept, that hasn't, that wasn't a surprise. This has been coming really since half time at Stevenage. And I think if Shrewsbury had had anybody who could put ball in there, I'm not sure. I think they'd have taken a point against us last game as well. So it's not a surprise, but you have to caveat that with, as you say, Ian, we found a way to win, haven't we? We've not been great in second half Stevenage and the whole game against Shrewsbury, but we found a way to win, and that's always a good encouraging sign. And to be honest, I'd have taken a point before the game, and I'd have taken a point even after they scored the penalty, because if you win your own games, win enough of your own games, and don't drop points in enough of your away games, that's usually gets you promoted, doesn't it? So if we'd have come away with a point after an average to poor performance, we'd have all been really pleased. But I think the fact that you lose, then the performance comes into focus.
We're not going to win every game. Like we're going to have a run of defeats at some point. But the concerning thing for me is the performances, because the sign of a good team is when you win when you don't play well, but you've got to play well at some point. And like you say, guys, I think from that half time at Stevenage, we've been awful. I mean, as much as I don't really care about the League Cup, I think it's a distraction and an annoyance, to be quite honest, for teams like ours. But the performance was pitiful against a side that we should be beating comfortably. So as a fan going down to that, I'm expecting a performance. Rotherham's it's a tough place to go. Deceptive in the table because they've played better than the results they got. But we've got to exert ourselves on the game. We've got players that have ability to pass the ball more than 5 yards. We've got players that can create, that can make runs and create things. And I'm sat there watching the game thinking this is awful. And then we've got to endure that bloody sausage roll running onto the pitch at full time, giving it fucking fist pumps like they've won Champions League, and being goaded by all home fans as we trudge off home and in abject misery. It's just, I'm sick of it. We had too much of that last season, lads. We had too much of these types of performances last season. And I think that's where the frustration comes in, that yes, we're going to lose games. We know that. And there's going to be times where some of the players are on it. But it was worrying how much they looked like they wanted it compared to us, and the energy levels and the intensity, because there's no excuse for that. You don't need skill to have intensity and high energy, and that's what was a disappointment for me, because we sold out that end. We backed them, we got right behind them, and did they really give us much to cheer about? Not really. It was really disappointing. And now you're going into a run of a really difficult away games as well, guys. I mean, I'm looking at the fixtures here. We've got Bolton, we've got Reading, we've got Birmingham, we've got Wrexham, all to come soon. They're going to be similar. They're going to be in our faces. They're going to be aggressive. Birmingham spent 20-odd million quid. Wrexham are up there yet again, riding the crest of the wave. Reading look decent. I know I think, Ian, did you tip them to be up there, top 6? And Bolton, although they haven't started particularly well, that'll change at some point, I'm sure, probably against us, because we're the gift, aren't we? So to me, looking at those fixtures, that's what worries me as much as anything else. It's if we keep putting in these type of performances, we will get beat almost every time in those fixtures. Are you worried, guys, or do you think this is just a flash in the pan?
Go on, guys. You've been -1. You can crack on with this one.
Why not? Yeah. Am I worried? I think there's enough quality in that certainly in that first 11 to give every other team in this league a game 100%. There's enough quality in there. Duff's got to find a way to make them play more Peterborough and less Shrewsbury, aren't they? That's Duff's task now, isn't it? We were all effusive about Duff, the way he's approached it, the way he's presented himself, how he's talked. You know, he's been a real positive, hasn't he, since the start of the season? But that will only carry on for so long if the team don't start performing. And as I just said, you know, caveat everything we talked about today, we've got 9 points, and what are we, 5th or 6th or something? 4th? We're 5th.
Yeah.
You know, before we kicked the ball, somebody said after 4 games you'd win 3, lose 1, and be 5th. Would you take it? I can't believe there's a town fan in the land who would said no thanks. So you know, we just got to be careful. We don't chuck the baby out of the bathwater. But I am worried because I think despite I didn't join in the Twitter pile on to Kev on transfer deadline day. I'm not sure it was much. Not that he'd text any notice of what I'm fucking saying anyway, but you know, he was typing those tweets, I'm reading them just thinking, mate, just stop, because this has got the potential to come back and bite you on the arse. Talking about the club being, was it transfer? What did he say the word? Was it transfer? Rebuilt. That was it. I've got to. I would not expect all this negativity. The club has been rebuilt. New players. What, 7 of them? You know, we've only brought in as many that went out. You know, and they kept going on about people focusing on strikers. Well, we will do, because those of us who've been around longer than you, Kev, have known we haven't had a decent striker in fucking 6 years. So that's why we're obsessed with strikers, because we don't score goals and haven't done for an extended period of time. And you know, what I don't agree with is people saying to him on social media, "Oh, you want to do it on the cheap? Oh, where's the fucking Radoni money? Radoni money is the new roads money. Radoni money, isn't it? Where's the Radoni money?" Because we had Alfie May and we had Joe Taylor in the building, right? And either of those signings would have been expensive for League One. Although, even before Birmingham piled in, right? He weren't cheap, weren't we? Let's be honest, right? So I don't think the money is the problem. I think what worries me is, if I've got a worry, is that I think us three, with half an hour on the internet, if somebody said to me, name 2 strikers that Huddersfield Town should sign to score goals in League One, it would have been a list of 5, and those 2 would have been on all our lists, 100%, right? So the team have been at it, and they've been monitoring, and they've been, well, yeah, but it can't be fucking monitoring that hard, because the only 2 you tried to sign are 2 we all would have tried to sign. So what else have you done, Kev? Where else have you got? And I think that's what
they've brought in. Gaz, Healy and Radulovic. That's what we've brought in. Remember, it's only 6 months ago.
But it's now coming back to bite him. I didn't think it'd bite him on the arse so quickly. You know, Healy getting injured in the warm up, Ward getting sent off. I didn't think it'd come back to haunt him so quick, did it you? I mean, we're now stuck with Marshall, and if Marshall or Karoma get injured on international duty, we're knackered.
Well, he has Marshall is into. I think he's gone on international duty, and
Karoma's
I think
Karoma's flying out to Africa. I think they're playing Chad and somebody else. You know, Karoma's going to travel to Africa and back.
So you know what's going to happen there, don't you? It's going to be some more injuries for the collection.
I'm worried. I'm worried, boys. I am. I'm worried for a few different reasons. We've got a distinct weakness in the team, and Rotherham exploited it. So no matter how good we are going forward, how many goals we can score, I think we will score a lot of goals this season. I don't think there'll be many games where we don't score at all. But Rotherham showed everybody what our weakness is. And it's not rocket science to find it out either. We all kind of pinpointed exactly what the problem is. Rotherham went at it. We had no answer for it. And we felt like a pack of cards as soon as we faced any adversity yesterday. And that's really, really hard for us to overturn. And the other thing is Birmingham have spent that much money. Alfie May, as you mentioned, Gaz, there, he's top goal scorer in League One already. We've missed out on already top goal scorer in the division because of money. And you can say, well, he's not worth it. We didn't want to put that much money. We've lost out on him because of money. We were interested. They were willing to pay more. Maybe it was unsustainable for us, but we lost out. We decided as a club, financially, it wasn't worth going after Alfie May. We couldn't afford it for whatever reason. And that's a decision they've got to live with, and it's fine. Maybe it is unrealistic as bringing him in competing with Birmingham. But again, it's a decision we made, right? So Birmingham are going to be number 1. They're going to finish top of this league. I know they struggled yesterday, but I don't think you'll find many fans of a League One club that don't expect Birmingham to finish first. So then you're down to finishing second for automatic. And to finish second in our division, you've got to be not perfect, but you've got to be fucking good. It's a tough division to get out of. And we've got a distinct weakness now, and the window's closed and we haven't rectified it. Longwick is an option there that might work out. But again, we're still light. If one of them gets injured, if him or Elliot gets injured, it all falls apart again, I think. I don't think we've got anyone that can kind of replace their two positions. We've got a thin squad when it comes to first teamers that can play the system Duff wants to play. We've got a thin squad. We have. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to finish top two because you've got to be better than 22 other teams. And Rotherham showed me yesterday that we've got enough weaknesses and chinks in the armour that enough teams will take points off us and make it hard for us. Maybe we can rectify it in January. And Kevin has spoke about that. But the other thing that worries me, Gaz, is this talk about rebuild. We spoke like this last year. We got relegated. In January, Cartwright did an amazing job, better than anyone could have expected. We got relegated. We failed. The club might be better off out behind the scenes, and the stadium looks fantastic. It does. And the stuff they've done will improve it for a long time. I understand that, and it's really important for that to happen. But if you're just looking at the playing squad, it's been a joke since last August until Duff's come in. It's been an absolute joke. We had Warnock, we had the fallout from that. Then we had Darren Moore, and then we had John Worthington's brief highs, and then Brighton Wright that came as the next biggest thing, and that ended up in turmoil as well. So to sit there and to talk about how it's been rebuilt and everything's positive and it's amazing, to who? Who believes that? It's not. We've won 3 games in League One. We look better this year, and we might get promoted, and we might finish second, and I hope we do. And I'll be the first one there cheering, and I'll say congratulations every single time when it happens. Fantastic, brilliant. We've won 3 games though, so don't start pretending that we're there already. We're not. We're not there. We're a long way off. We didn't bring a striker in by the end of the deadline window. And barely 14 hours later, we're down to 1 fit senior pro for our next league game as of today, I think. Next game. I think Danny Ward, like I say, he's suspended, but he can play Tuesday, can't he? With everyone else off on duty,
yeah.
Who are we down to? I think Have I sent you photos of this earlier on? I think I did, didn't I, in our group chat. We're down to B team, Zach Abbott, Thorpe Deru, and Connor Falls, right? And then under 18 strikers, we've got Zach Bowker, Mohamed Fikri, and Danny Isaac. One of them's probably going to have to play with Danny Ward if we go 3-5-2 on Tuesday night. It's barely 13, 14 hours after Kevin's like, no, we're all right for strikers. We're good what we go. We'll have to go with what we go. We're fine. We've got a striker. That's what we've got left. It's predictable because last year we said in August, at the end of the transfer window last August, Pozza famously went out and there were a brass knuckle incident with Kevin saying we're going to get relegated. We're not ready yet. And they said, no, leave it to the experts kind of thing. We know what we're doing. We're fine. You've got to learn from that, boys. 13, 14 hours after saying we're fine, we're not. We're light again. Football fans as a populace, as a group of people, do know quite a bit because we're sad bastards. We watch far too much football. We've lived it for, how old are you guys? How many years have you lived it? It's more than put together. But we live and breathe it. That's English football for us. We're addicts. We're sad. We're pathetic. But we don't take our eyes off what's going on in the Football League. And generally, we do kind of know what's happening. And to say that we don't, I find ignorant, and I find it frustrating because the stuff they're doing is fantastic. It's brilliant. But when you only put a diary out when we win, when you only do that kind of thing when things are looking good, and then we lose like we have, and we've heard nothing since, 24 hours later? Is it 30 hours later? Yeah. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Don't happen if you win. There's always something there. That frustrates fans. And it's just, it annoys me because I like Kevin. I like him a lot. I've met him. I think he's a great bloke. And I think he's genuine. And I think as a football club owner, he's brilliant. He's good. We could have done far worse. Or been in far worse positions before. The stadium again looks fantastic. But they're just little single mistakes that they seem to make and they don't seem to be learning from that just makes me go, oh, come on, boys, you're so close to getting this right. Come on, just come on, have a think. You'll get there. But we made it hard for ourselves. We made it hard for ourselves. I think that weakness is when then Town lose a game like yesterday, you get dickheads online, probably like us, giving it out, saying, oh, I told you we got it wrong. I told you we were wrong. And it just creates that kind of atmosphere. We do simple things. We're making mistakes over and over again, and we don't have to. We're close to playing a better game than we have done recently. They're my issues at the moment. I feel like I've whinged a lot there. You guys were giving it negative earlier and everyone's calling you negative assholes. I feel like I've just done it there. But that's just how I kind of feel at the moment. I feel we're close on field to being bloody good. But off the field, we kind of cut our nose off to spite our face every now and again, and we don't need to do it. We're so close to getting it right. We just need to be a little bit more reserved in certain aspects.
I've got ultimate respect for Kev. The guy put his money in his pocket. He saved a club that would have possibly gone down the toilet from doing so. And he made a lot of mistakes in his first year. And the one who will feel the most pain is him, because it's going to hit him in his pocket and it's going to hit him hard relegation, right? So to pretend he doesn't give a shit is really unfair. And I don't think anybody says that.
No one's saying that.
No. But I'm with you, Ian. You look at the stadium, the investment in the academy, the bloke is doing so much the right way. And it worries me. A weakness in his armour seems to be a blind spot that fans can't have or know what a good player or what a good team looks like. That's a real blind spot in his armoury. Now, it might be because the Sac Republic fans haven't got a clue. They think Kieran Phillips is a fucking world beater. So, with respect to Sac, it's a completely different level. And I'm with you, Ian. I keep thinking about something Greg Mara said last time he was on about, I tend to listen to football fans because generally they know what they're talking about. And he's in these scenarios, he's not wrong. And I just think Kev would have been well advised just keep off Twitter on deadline day. Because the other thing, I saw the other people, the ones who were jumping in to protect Kev, talking about the fact we retained Hellick and Nichols. Nobody probably wanted them. I mean, they were relegated with a team that was relegated miserably and played piss poor most of the season. So, nobody came in for Hellick probably because we wanted too much money for him. Somebody had offered the money we wanted for Hellick, he would have been gone. Don't kid yourself, guys. Don't think that the club thought, well, we'll keep Hellick because he's going to be vital to our promotion chances. Just nobody gave us what we wanted for him. That's why he's still here. So I think Kev's not helping the whole club is rebuilt one. That's the one that got me. I'm just like, mate, if you genuinely think the club has been rebuilt, then we could be in for a long dragging League One. I hope that's not what it was. And last January was a disaster, by the way. So if we're banking on this January being our saviour, I'm not holding my breath.
Well, that's the thing, guys. And I struggle when this talk like that, and they expect fans to think, oh, do you know what? Yeah, we'll, because the track record so far on the playing side has been failure. It has. We've won. We're fifth now. Most people actually predict. So when you say, guys, would fans accept fifth? Most people expect us to finish fifth this year. So realistically, guys, we're exactly where most fans kind of expected us to be. I had a seventh, so it's better than me. And I've come out and admitted that this start is far greater than I could have expected. And fair play to Duff and the guys behind the scenes getting it there. Great start, even with the Rotherham loss. There's worries there, but points on the board matter. Great start. But it's just, we aren't stupid. Football fans aren't stupid on the whole. If you kind of average them out, yeah, you get extremities, but you have to just ignore them. Just don't ignore them. If it gets personal, different. People take things far too far, and they should be answerable for that. And it's fucking wrong, absolutely. But when people complain about signing a striker because we don't have enough senior strikers, or we don't have the right kind of, so my opinion is, I think we've got enough strikers, and I still don't think the strikers will cause us to fail or succeed this year. I think what we have is actually with Marshall probably enough. I think if we fail, it won't be because of the strikers. It's Herbie Kane missing and Johnny Ogg having to play 46 games. If this is the case, it'll be a bigger problem for me. And the centre-backs on the either side being a bit slow. I think that's a bigger issue. But it's a genuine worry that people can have that they're in enough. And that's football, that's English football for you, innit? That's it. And that's what we're dealing with. Just because there's a bit of pain and things behind and better officers and stuff for the boys that work there, that doesn't mean the club's rebuilt, not to the fans. The club's rebuilt to the fans when we start winning games week in and week out and we get back to where we were, which is the Championship. Because this club only a few seasons ago were in the Premier League and now we're fifth in League One. That's the reality of the situation. The club to fans will be rebuilt when we get back to where we were previously. And it's not like it were 1924, 5, 6 when we won it. It's just been in the Premier League, which is 2017. It's not even, 6, 7 years ago. It's not just in living memories, it's in kids' living memories. That's what we want back again. And until we get there, fans will find it hard, I think, to kind of swallow that pill that the club being rebuilt, because until you start winning on the field, to the majority of fans, nothing else really matters. I understand what he's trying to say, but you have to win games. And when you lose a game like yesterday, after giving that out the day before, after you've won just 3 league games in League One, it's just naivety a little bit. I think that's how it sits with me.
Yeah, I really like Kev. I like what he's done. I mean, he's saved us from abyss, hasn't he? By all accounts, we're going to go into admin and God knows what, and the blokes come in, barely even seen the club and taking us on, and that takes a lot of balls, doesn't it? And I like how he engages with the fans. I like how open he is, and he has all these events with the afternoon teas and stuff. I've still not been invited, just saying, but I like that he's trying to do these things and include the fans. There's a lot they're doing right. The stadium is decrepit. It needs a rebuild. But that's what we're talking about in terms of when we're talking about rebuild is the infrastructure, the things behind the scenes. That I think is accurate. We're looking at the academy, really important. We're going to end up changing the bogs, even more important. Everyone keeps crying out for. But when it comes to the team, we've had how many new starters do we have? We have 5 new players out of 11. That's not a fucking rebuild. It's the same team with same mentality, same failings, same fragile mental mindset. And I think that's where the frustration comes from, because as you say, and looking out, like 3 of us could go on internet and we could come up with 5 or 6 suggestions of strikers they could have brought in. I don't disagree with the May decision if what's been quoted is the actual figure for salaries, because it's stupid by Birmingham, and rightly they'll be deducted points when they go up and probably go back down again and be lumbered with players up for like 4, 5, 6, 7-year contracts on massive money. It's a recipe for disaster. It's stupid and reckless. I don't want us to do that, but what I do want us to do, when you've got someone coming out giving it the big eye, I'm saying the aim is promotion, put the money where your mouth is, get what is necessary. And his striker was necessary. We've got Marshall in. He's a good lad, but we can't pin all his hopes on a young kid like that with next to no experience in League One. It's not fair. You're not telling me that those 2 were the only 2 strikers that we could have brought in that would have made a difference to our squad. You're not telling me that. There are other strikers out there besides Taylor and May. I mean, look at Barnes bringing that Keller Dunning. Like, that's someone that could have sat in a 10 role, could have dropped a bit deeper, linked up. It'd have been great yesterday, probably. But the players like that who don't cost the earth, that we should have been in for. And I mean, I didn't hear any rumours about many other strikers. Did you guys? I didn't see anything. And normally fans are quite on the pulse when it comes to these kind of things. And it was just a generally quiet transfer window, rumours wise. And yeah, we got some players in. They're okay. They're decent. But is there any signings that you'd look at and you think, good God, that's a statement of intent? They're guaranteed goals, or they're going to run that midfield, or I don't know. I mean, Evans on paper was a decent signing. He's looked shite since the Peterborough game. How many injuries? And they're not just injuries for a week, couple of weeks. It's 5, 6 weeks, 2 months. And then you've got to get them back up to speed. And I've never known a football club get so many injuries. Like, why do we get so many injuries? I don't know what's going on.
I genuinely think, football success often comes down to the amount of money you've got to spend. And a club normally has more to spend if it's a bigger club and the fans spend more money upon it. Town generally, commercially, aren't the best when you look at teams of a similar size because of the market that we're in. If we don't have the money to spend, it's hard to bring in those kind of guys. I thought the signings we made in the summer, like you said, they weren't necessarily statement signings, but they were wise. The club did show that they'd kind of learned in the January and out with Radulovic, as we've gone over many times, and Bolker, that kind of high risk, high ceiling, but a very, very low floor, and that it might not work out and they might be not necessarily useless, but not very serviceable at the level that Town play at. This year we didn't do that. We went and got on League One guys that are proven, but then we don't have the money or we're not willing to spend the money that Birmingham have on players. So you're kind of in that kind of weird middle ground there. And like I've mentioned before today, 7 or 8 clubs around us are spending similar amount of money on transfer fees. So you're in a competitive market where you're only spending the same as everybody else. So it is a gamble and it's a bit of a lottery to try and get back to where you were. But I don't know. I'll put it to you guys. The squad we have right now, that we have today, injuries as well. And that's another thing quickly on this side. We have guys that have got injury records because that's why they're with us. If Healy were never injured and he's scoring 20 goals a season, he's not playing in League One, is he? He's playing the Championship. Already worked out when he were over in France. Like that's what would have happened. So you kind of, if you don't have the right amount of money, you have to bring in guys that are higher risk and that have got more injury records. And maybe that's why we've got more injuries than other teams have. But putting it to you guys, the squad that we have today, where do you expect us to be by January? Kevin and the club spoken out about we can look again in January. Where do you guys see us at the moment in January with a very small sample size that we've got?
Well, if you take the points pro rata, then you're going to still be there or thereabouts, aren't you? The challenge you have is if you take the performances pro rata, out of 4 games, you played well for 1.5. So on that basis, I'm with you. I do think the irony, even though we didn't get another striker in, I do think we'll score enough goals, because I think especially at home, I do fancy us at home. I think we look a different prospect at home, especially if you get Miller and Sorensen firing. But I would have said 10th, upper mid-table is probably where I'd expect us to perhaps be at the turn of the year, if we carry on performing as we are. If we can't get a song especially out of the midfield.
Judging purely on performances, I agree with Gaz, 10th. If you looked at it on a results basis, I think probably 5th or 6th, and I predict us to finish 5th. I don't think we're anywhere near top 2 material. Anywhere near. We just haven't got the quality. And that's what sticks in the gullet a bit when you hear him talking about we're going out for promotion. We the aim is promotion. But have we really, as the signings we've made really matched that talk? To me, no, not really. We're a slow, steady side that will grind results out. But we're not going to smash teams 3-4, 5-0. There's not going to be much style with it. It's an upper end League One squad. But when you throw the injuries into it, Karoma's going to get injured at some point, because he usually does. Jonathan Ogg will certainly get injured. Mikael Miller's got an injury record as long as your arm, so he'll get injured. And then who have we got playing down that side? Ruffles, who's looked far from convincing. So when you break it down and look at it, like you say, Ian, it's easy from the outside to say, oh yeah, you don't. On paper, we're fine. The squad's great. It's fine, but us fans, having watched it year after year after year, we know exactly what's coming. We know exactly what's going to happen, because we've seen it time and time and time again. When the injuries start racking up, who have we got? We start relying on kids more. We start dropping points. And I think if we get to January and we're still in the playoffs, we've done bloody well with the squad we've got.
So what would you have said before? Is this a change after the Rotherham game, or would you have been at the same place before it?
I'd have been in the same place.
Yeah.
I was after the Stevenage game, I was pretty critical of the performance. I didn't think it was the greatest. And as I said, Stevenage would have had a striker that had taken something from that game. It could have taken all 3 points, to be honest.
After the Peterborough game, I'd have said we could be pushing sort of 3rd, 4th, because I thought we're brilliant. I thought we're outstanding the way we managed the game and the intensity and the closing down. It's just what I'd expect from a town side that's trying to get promoted. But since then, the performances just haven't been convincing, and it's performances that are key for me. It's not just the results; it's the way we're playing, and we just don't look convincing enough to me. I said 5th, mate. I said 5th before, and having watched the last few games, I think that could drop to maybe 6th, 7th. I don't know. We might squeeze in, we might not, but we're not going to be top 2 in a million years.
Nick, between you're with me when I say my pre-season prediction is 7th. Dan M's here with his just outside the playoffs where we will stay. I feel like I'm not on my own anymore. Although I will say, after the Peterborough game, I got a bit giddy. I got a bit giddy, guys. Like my 9 for Corberán in December when we had the playoff final proved itself pretty well, as I'll mention again. I got a bit giddy and thought, if this team doesn't make the playoffs, it's a massive failure, because there is some dross in this league, and I think there's a lot of teams that are very similar and will take points off each other. So I still think, as of now, it'd be a failure to not make the playoffs. I think top 2 is going to be hard, because I think there's other teams, even that are going to get it going and get a bit of form and we'll fight it. I don't know if it'll be. I'd still fancy Reading. I think they've got a really, really good team, and Nathan Jones at Charlton's going to do well. And you look at these teams at the top, and they're going to be awful places to go and play. And I think they've got more grind out the wins within the squads than we have. I think we're going to have off days. I think we're going to have a few off days this season. Again, I like. When you make predictions pre-season, I always think it's too fucking early. You can't base that off pre-season. You can't. I like to do it now, 1st of September. Get through August, see how the first games have gone. You can watch a few of the games. There's a few litmus tests you can kind of work out. You can't bring anyone else in. You're stuck with that till January. And I think I'd be surprised and disappointed if we're not in the playoffs by January still. I think we're actually better than I expected to be at this point still, even with all the problems that we have, even with the injuries that we've faced. I think when we're on it, we look better than I expected. So I'd be very surprised if we're not in the playoffs. But it'll come down to January again. League One, January is a massive time for League One. In the Championship, I don't think it is at the top of the Championship. I don't think it is. But at the bottom of the Championship, you can kind of stay in it if you bring in the right guys in January. And maybe it's the same in all divisions. I've not really thought about it. Maybe getting promoted in January is tough. But you can kind of see if you've got any massive holes. And for us, maybe that left and right centre-back can kind of get addressed at that point. But I'd be surprised if we're not in the playoffs by that point. Because this division, like Shrewsbury and Stevenage, they can kind of go toe-to-toe with you, but then they just don't have that extra quality to get over the line every single week. And you'll face your Rotherhams that do have that, or just get it right on the day. I'd be surprised. I'd be disappointed if we're not. Surely we have to be.
But I think you're right. A lot of the team, I'm trying to think the right word, but League One's full of functional teams who will give you a game most. They're a bit like Championship in some ways.
Guys, I think that it's full of players that on the day are fantastic but have problems.
Yeah, but I think the difference between the top 6 or 8 teams in League One and the rest is that when you look to their bench, they have people who can make a change or make a difference in a game. And you look at Rotherham, they brought on Hugill. They had Humbo on the bench who never got off. The McDonald who plays for them, who I really like. I was just out of interest looking at Wrexham's bench yesterday. Oliver Rathbone, Paul Mullin, Stephen Fletcher. Birmingham will be the same. They'll have 3 or 4. Our bench actually had some decent footballers on it, some good quality League One footballers, but none of them is going to change a game. That's the problem. You've got Headley, you've got Turton, you've got Ruffles, you've got. That they're not going to change a game, are they? They're not going to turn the game on a sixpence and suddenly we win a game. You're playing Wrexham, you keep them to 0-0 for 80 minutes, they wheel out Stephen Fletcher. I'm not saying Stephen Fletcher's the answer, by the way, but my point being that they've got a way to change a game with somebody who can actually take advantage of it. So maybe that's a chance. And I keep saying, I still think our first 11 is as good as any first 11 in this league. I really do, honestly. But it's beyond that, isn't it? That's your challenge.
Squads get promotion, don't they? Not first 11s. Squads over the season get you there, not just the guys you put out on your first few games. But the worrying sign, like you say, is that we've got Stevenage second half shite, Shrewsbury most of the game shite, Rotherham awful. So it's not even like one bad day at the office. It's not a knee-jerk thing either. I think reevaluating it at this point, Peterborough were great, but from then you've kind of slowly deteriorated into. But the thing is, this is what I've said before. You've got a new coach in. Teams don't have tape on you. They can't break you down because they've not seen you play before. Pre-season is irrelevant when it comes to this kind of thing. Nobody knows how to beat us. The problem we have now with Stevenage worked out a little bit, Shrewsbury a little bit more, and Rotherham got us down to a T. Every team we face from now on will know how Rotherham beat us and will know exactly how they can kind of cause us problems that you didn't get against Peterborough in that first game. Peterborough didn't have a clue, didn't have an absolute clue how to do anything against us, and we whooped them because of it. But from now on, for Town, games get tougher. Games will get tougher the more we go because that new manager bounce, and it does happen at the beginning of seasons as well as mid-season. He's gone. We're predictable. Town have got to find out a way to be able to dictate play and get results, even though other teams know how to not beat us but cause us problems, and that's how the next few months are going to go. And to be fair, though, it's really interesting. I'm quite still excited about going into it's Bolton's next game, isn't it, now, with the Blackpool game being called off. And that's a nice one. Like I said, they're a bit out of form, Nick. It's a good one for us to go and test ourselves and see where we're at. And I actually think after that game, we'll know a lot more about where we're at. Because we're a similar team to Rotherham. Obviously, they made the playoff final. The playoff final last year or semi-final? Semi-final, wasn't it? They're a good League One team. And it'll be interesting to see how we go again away from home. I think we couldn't ask. Normally, after a defeat, you kind of want an easy game to get back into it. But I don't think that's the case with us. I think we want to get the demons out that we can go away to good teams in this division, like Peterborough, and actually put in a performance. And Bolton will be a really good one for that, to see if we can go at them.
But you can look at it 2 ways, can't you? Either go put in a brilliant performance and come away with a result and turn it round, or we lose again with a similar type of performance, and then everyone's in meltdown, and the players are trying to pick themselves up off the floor. So let's hope it's a former. But we have 2 weeks. We have 2 weeks to work on it. There's no excuses now. It's down to Duff, innit? It's same as every team. There's that many stats analysts will look at teams and they'll know after, like you say, after a few games, they know how teams are going to set up and how to combat it. And now it's up to Duff and the team to work out a plan B and a plan C. So when it does happen, we can change things. I'm just looking at some of the comments that people have kindly sent in. Terry and Nigel says that with Ward banned, Healy injured, Bojan injured, Marshall on international duty. What were they thinking during the transfer window? Which we've kind of already covered. He's saying that it's criminal they've left us short again. Cartwright massively out of touch with the English game. He's coming under a lot of fire, Cartwright. Is it all down to him, this? Is it lack of funds? Is it lack of vision? Who can we blame, guys? Who can we fucking lay into? Because we love that, don't we? Who can we pin the tail on?
Unique for being so fucking negative with your guest last week and not letting Gaz talk, as the comments showed.
If fairness,
distinguished guest,
stop me from talking if I had half a chance.
God, he said it's too early to point fingers. It really is. Yeah, we're light on strikers, but every team over the course of the season faced it at some point. My only distaste is that we're all saying, we're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. No, we're facing this shit now. But that's what happens when you go on a limited budget. We have got a limited budget. Every club has a limited budget, apart from Birmingham, it seems. So over the course of the season, you're going to face it. By the end of the season, retrospectively, you can look back and then point fingers. But 3 games in, you can't really blame anyone at this point, can you?
No,
I can't. Apart from Johnny Ogg, apparently he's the one to blame at the moment, and he's on vogue for being blamed. Other than him, who else is he to blame?
Well, HTAFC Dreams has posted here, how come Oggy gets all the stick when you've got Sorensen, terrible, Ward, well, you don't need to say anything about that, do I? Wiles hardly moved, hid. And that's not the first time that Wiles has been accused of hiding during games, not getting stuck in, taking the easy option. Evans went missing as well. It seems like because of Hoggy's age, he's the easy one to target. I don't like his passing ability, and I think he does slow things down too much. I would like to see a better passer of the ball there, someone that could ping it out a bit quicker. But I don't think it's fair,
Nick, on that. I'll jump in there, though, on that, Nick, right? We've gone out and brought Joe Ward in, who plays DCM. It's not that the club aren't aware of a problem there at Johnny Ogg at DCM. I was surprised he played Tuesday night against Walsall and then played against yesterday. I was quite surprised how much we're rolling him out. He's obviously very, very fit for an older player, absolutely. And he's a physical specimen when it comes to how well he can still run about at his age, which he's younger than me, and it's hard to fucking say it. Because honestly, my ego is hit every time I talk about him like this. But obviously with Johnny Ogg, you can see that he's not, and he's just not what he was, but he's not going to be, he's older. But he's still better than a lot of the other options that we have. And the day at the office yesterday was bad for everybody, bar Nichols and Karoma. I think it's very harsh to pick out players from yesterday alone and say they're not good enough anymore because they were shy against Rotherham. Because Sorensen was awful after being great for the last few weeks. So it's too much, I think, to go at everybody individually yesterday. We weren't good enough. But after Bolton, if it's 2 games in a row after 2 weeks off, and they try and play this a way that we can't counter against, then it's a different question. But for the moment, it's for me, it's a bit early. It's a bit early to do that kind of stuff.
Gaz, you agree?
Yes.
Nice. Nice one, mate. That's why you're my guest, because of the insightful comments that you come out with.
If it's succinct, yeah. Oh, look, we all know Jonathan Ogg's strengths and weaknesses, and I just think, it's another failure of the recruitment that we ended up getting a kid in at the depth to try and play Hoggy's role instead of Hogg, and he is. I mean, his athletic ability, even was he 36? Is he 35?
35, 36, is
it? He could easily play till he's 40. He's physically fit enough to do that. The question is, can he do it at this level?
I think he can. I think there's games where Hogg will be really useful. I mean, I would have played him regardless yesterday because it's going to be a physical contest. To me, that sort of game's built for Hogg. But there are going to be games where he isn't needed, and it's about managing him, because I don't think it's fair to him to just play him every game again when physically, he's getting on a bit now. He's very fit, but he suffers with hip injuries around Christmas time, and he has for the past 2 or 3 seasons, and it's going to be taken out of our hands at some point when he inevitably gets injured. George, I like him, but I think the problem is there's no leaders, is there? There's not enough talkers, there's not enough shouters, there's not enough leaders on that pitch to, when things are going against us, to change it. Jonathan Ogg seems to be the only one that's not afraid to say anything on the pitch, and that's a concern. There's too many people just with their heads down, not willing to get stuck in and give orders out. And I know we've got this new sort of leadership team behind the scenes, but to me, one of the main things we needed in the transfer window was more leaders in the team, and it doesn't look like we've really done that, which is disappointing. But it is what it is, guys. We're stuck with it. We've got Donny next in the eagerly anticipated EFL Trophy. What's it called? The is it Bristol Street
Motors Trophy, yeah.
Tin Pot Trophy. So we'll all enjoy that. It'll be a sellout crowd for that, I'm sure, down at Donny. I mean, what would you do for this one? Because to me, this and the League Cup are completely pointless for teams like ours that have an agenda. We need to get promoted. We get injuries left, right, and centre. To me, I'd just sack this one off and play the kids and bollocks to it. But do we need to, like you say, and do we need to really put out a good strength side to get a performance and a result to cheer us all up for the next couple of weeks before we then go into Bolton?
I would. I'd put out as strong a team as we can on Tuesday night. For that reason, we've had a bad defeat this weekend. We've got most of the guys around, haven't we? So if Karoma's missing and Marshall's missing, most of the defensive midfield are there. I'd go full strength and have a go. I think winning's contagious, and the more positive. Look, Walsall, we got smashed in that second half, and we all felt awful after that game. I know it doesn't matter. I know it's whatever, but it wasn't nice. Watching it, it leaves an awful taste in the mouth, and hopefully we can have a go at Doncaster. I'm going to actually go, but honestly, do you know what? We've not thrown enough people under the bus. Huddersfield District League, right? Here we go. My boys have a game Tuesday night. Huddersfield District League, you play on a Tuesday night for the first 2 games of the season. So we play in Deaton's second team on Tuesday. But the problem is, Deaton's first team, we're going to be playing Newsham, and they've got that called off. We only found out about that late on. So now we're having to face Deaton's second team on Tuesday night. And obviously, legally, they're going to put in loads of first teamers, and we're going to absolutely smash. And that's going to ruin my evening, because I fancy going down to Doncaster to watch Town, because I thought we might be able to get ours called off as well if there's a suspect putting the first team out against us. But no, unfortunately not. We're going to have to play it. So I won't actually be there on Tuesday. But strikers, Danny Ward plays. I know he's going to miss a few games afterwards unless we appeal it. But it'd be nice for him to get a couple of goals and just have a good go. It was nice, wasn't it, when we beat Morecambe in the first round of the League Cup, because we don't win cup games. So why not have a go on Tuesday and really put Doncaster to the sword and have a full go? Because like you say, Wiles and Evans have just gone off the boil a little bit. You can have a first team out there Tuesday, give them a lot of possession, try and work out how to unlock a team that I'm guessing would sit deep if we did put out the first team, and learn from it. Give it another good go. I won't be throwing this game away.
I'd agree with that. I think we've got the weekend off anyway, haven't we? Because Blackpool's cancelled. So, you've got 10 days between then and the next game. So you've plenty of time to rest. He wants to persevere with Wiles, Evans, and Hogg. Then he needs to keep playing them. Another 90 minutes of the three of them playing together might just help. But you're going to have a kid. You're going to end up with a couple of the kids thrown in, I think, aren't you? I also think you're going to see Turton and Ruffles as he desperately tries to give them more game time. Headley will probably play, won't he? And then there'll probably be a kid alongside Ward. Danny Ward better play, because I'll be pissed. If he's got himself sent off and then gets out of playing in that game, I'm going to be well unimpressed. He should be playing in that game as a punishment. So yeah, I'm not going. I don't think I am actually in that part of the world though. So no, I'm not. I'm definitely not going.
Gazi, you're talking yourself into going. I'm definitely not going. You'll be there 2 hours before game, sat there with your program and your pie. Live loving it, guys. First one cheering. Give me an H. That's what you'll be at.
So yeah, it's a non game really. It's a nothing competition. And it's only a competition that really matters when you get towards the end stages where you might have a chance of playing in Wembley. Then you probably show interest as a fan, don't you? But yeah, whatever.
I think Iapenda might get game time as well, man.
Yeah, he will. Yeah, he will.
And he's not done anything wrong in the appearances he's made. I like the look of him. It might be worth. Do you think it's worth trying another formation to see, a bit of a tinker, or would you just stick the same?
I don't think he'll do that, will he?
No. He's going to go with the same. I think he's going to go with the same. Like I say, I'd put the strongest team out we can. Plus, I would play Iapenda. Yeah, I would. Or Hodge is going to play over Hogg to see if he's any better with Wiles and But what I wouldn't do is just throw the game away. At least go with some sort of plan to learn.
An international duty in his Republic.
Oh, he is, yeah, of course he is. Well, maybe Upenda with Wiles and Evans to see how they can go.
Yeah.
There's obviously going to be a couple of changes. I just put something out there that can help us going forward and going into Bolton, because the last few games have been poor. They've been poor, even with positive results in 2 of them. The last 3 games for me have been league games, have been iffy, and it's an opportunity here to learn and to get a little bit better. So I won't be throwing it away.
Brilliant. Right, guys, we've covered everything, I think. I don't think there's anything else. We've been at it for over an hour and a half moaning, so I don't think anyone needs to listen to any more of this awful negativity, guys. But what can you do when it's so shit? Guys, is there anything else we're going to talk about before we wrap this up? I don't think so. Thank you very much, everyone, for your comments. We've had quite a lot through, and your questions. Like I said at the beginning, if you subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on X, it'd be greatly appreciated. And we'll be back probably after the Bolton game, and hopefully 3 points and push us back up towards that top 2. All right, everyone, stay safe, bye for now, and up the town.